Hello, this is James Hester, and welcome to day 28 of my 90-day carnivore challenge. It has been a journey for sure. Words cannot begin to express the difference in the way that I feel. You know, we're closing in on a month. Here in just a couple of days, I'll be celebrating my first month of the carnivore lifestyle. And I can't begin to tell you the difference in the way that I feel over where I was just a month ago. Now, I didn't lose any more weight this week, but that's not uncommon. I've watched enough of these carnivore challenge videos and different people's channels, even medical doctors that do this, and they will say, hey, don't get discouraged when you have a week where you don't lose. And there's many reasons for that. It could be stress. I mean, you could have some things happen, you know, that week that just stress you out, and that can prevent you from losing some weight. But you also could be gaining some more muscle that you had lost in the past. And muscle actually weighs more than fat, so maybe you're still burning some fat, but you gained a little bit of muscle that week. And so it doesn't reflect on the scales any difference, but you can still, you know, tell a big difference in the way that you feel. So I didn't lose any more weight this particular week, but when I look at the first 28 days of this challenge, I'm still down 15 pounds from where I started. And then when you look at the other things, like the fact that I was able to give up all of my insulin that I took for years and years. I mean, I can't tell you how many shots I have given myself in the stomach of the slow-acting insulin, and then later on they added the fast-acting insulin that I had to do before each and every meal. Then they added the other injectable that I told you about called Victoza that's supposed to just kind of help the pancreas create more insulin. And anyway, I'm off of all of that. I'm off of all my insulin, everything related to type 2 diabetes. I'm not taking any medication whatsoever. I was taking going into this when I started just 28 days ago, I was taking 4 different medications to keep my blood pressure in check. Not great, just in check to where I was out of the danger zone. And now I've got very acceptable blood pressures, and I'm down to only taking 1 pill 1 time a day. I used to be taking 4 different medications twice a day. And so that's a huge win in itself. And I'm willing to bet there's a lot of people out there, if they hadn't lost a single pound, if they just in 28 days of making any kind of change in their life, if they were able to walk away from this whole big collection of medications that I was forced to take every day, I think a lot of people would consider that in itself a huge win. I know I do. So the weight falling off to me is just gravy. Man, I used to love gravy on things. But anyway, hey, being serious now, no, I did not eat anything with gravy. I don't do that anymore. So I had some brisket left over at the beginning of this week. I had cooked a brisket at the end of last week, and that lasted me a good while. I had a lot of meals where I had brisket, and I did something different with brisket. After I'd had it a couple of days, it had dried out a little bit, and so I warmed me up some bone broth on the stove. And then I chopped up my brisket and just let it soak in the bone broth. I actually put that in my thermos and took it to work with me. And at lunchtime, it was really good because that brisket had just soaked all that bone broth in all day long. So if you've never tried that, give that a try. If you've got some leftover brisket, chop it up and cook it with some warmed up bone broth. Add a little butter to it. I did that too. And that was actually a really good meal. I didn't have anything for supper that night, probably because my serving of the brisket was just so large. And I will do that often. If I have a big lunch, there's just a lot of times when supper rolls around that I'm just not hungry. And so I just simply skip that meal and just, you know, kind of do a little bit of intermittent fasting. There's a doctor out there named Dr. Jason Fung that is real big on the intermittent fasting. And when you mix that and combine that with a carnivore or any other, keto or ketovore, if that's more in your wheelhouse, if you do keto or ketovore, mix in some of that intermittent fasting and just kind of push some of those meals out, and you'll see huge results, not only in weight loss, but you'll see better blood pressures, better blood sugars. It really helps. I'm sitting here looking at Monday and Tuesday. I also had some more of that brisket, and then that's when I ran it. So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I had brisket for lunch all 3 of those days. Monday night I had some meatballs and boiled eggs for supper. Tuesday night I had a Whataburger patty and a couple of strips of bacon, and Wednesday I had bacon and a boiled egg for lunch and a burger patty for supper. Steak and shrimp the next day. Back to meatballs and boiled egg and a burger patty Friday night. I made me a bunch of pork chops Saturday night for supper, and probably had like 4 of those. Pretty good stuff. But I also brought home some coconut tea. And this is what's cool about this, because this really is the ultimate elimination diet, okay? You've already seen from the past weeks, I'm keeping the foods real simple. It's burger patties, it's brisket, it's boiled eggs, some steak and shrimp. I'm keeping it real basic, a lot of the same things, over and over and over. It might sound boring to some people, but I like this stuff, and so I really don't get tired of it. But I had been out running around, and I brought some coconut tea home, and I have to make a little confession here. I did fill up most of my cup with just the unsweet coconut tea. But then I decided they had the sweet right next to it, and I did it was the tiniest little splash. I added a little splash of the sweetened coconut tea, just enough to give it the tiniest bit of sweetness. And my blood sugar that night jumped. I had been averaging 104, 105 on my blood sugars at night. When I went to bed that night, I had jumped up to 120. So a little taste of sweetened tea bumped my blood sugar up 15 points. So it just goes to show you right there that, as far as me, it may not be the same for everybody, but I can't have any sugar at all. I just really can't. And the truth of the matter is I knew that before I added the little splash. I don't know why I did it, and I paid for it. And the next morning when I got up, my blood sugar was still high. I had been waking up with 102, 103, 104 blood sugars, and I woke up and my blood sugar was still 117 the next morning. So, it definitely cost me just that little bit of sweetener that I just floated on the top of my glass of tea. I also, that night, for whatever reason, I was sitting in front of my computer and I ate a little bit of beef jerky. And guys, y'all have to be careful with beef jerky. You really have to read the labels before you eat it. So there's really, I would say 99% of the beef jerky out there we just can't have because of all the junk and the fillers that they put in it. There are some companies out there that will advertise that it's just beef and salt, and that's the beef jerky you've got to get. And most of the time it's a little more expensive. They know what they've got, and they charge a little bit more for it if you find some that is just beef and salt. But all of the junk ones that you buy in the grocery store, they're going to add soy, they're going to add corn syrup, they're going to add sugar, brown sugar, dextrose. There's, sugar will be listed multiple times with different names. And so it really does turn something that you would think would be a healthy snack into something that's not so healthy for you at all. And so that probably contributed to my little bit higher blood sugar. And right around in that, I also had a little bit higher blood pressure. There was a couple of days there with the coconut tea and with the beef jerky where I saw an extra 10 points on what I had been averaging on my blood pressure, from like a 127 or a 130 to a 140 or a 143. And now it's right back down to normal. Today I'm down, this morning I'm 123/76 on my blood pressure. But that blood sugar from the day before, from that coconut, was still a little high. So I'm gonna fix that today, and I'm gonna learn my lesson. That's the other thing about this that's what we do. That's why we do the elimination diet, so that you can see, right there, and I've got a continuous glucose monitor on my arm, and so anytime I have something that my body doesn't agree with, it's gonna tell me. My blood sugar is gonna tell me, my blood pressure is gonna tell me, and I keep the log and I write it down and say, okay, I can't have that anymore. And that's what I found out, that, this week is, not even the least little bit. I just can't have any sugar whatsoever. And deep down I knew that. I just wanted to try. But hey, it's been a terrific first month. Here in a couple of days anyway, it will be officially the first month of this. And I'm glad I've started this, and to be quite honest, at the end of this 90 days, this isn't going to end. It would be silly for me to ever go back to the foods that got me sick in the first place. I may make a few tweaks to my diet here and there. I may, add some cheese, or I may add some sour cream down the road, but it's all going to be animal based. It's all going to be carnivore, and we'll see, how much I can loosen it up a little bit, and what kinds of more relaxed carnivore items that I can add to my diet later on, if any. Again, we'll do, since we're, trying things, going to the basics with this elimination diet, I'm going to add one thing, that I want at a time to see how, and I may find out I can't have that, just like the couple of drops of sweet tea added to my tea. But I'll find out in time. But I will be, this is the carnivore lifestyle. It will be a part of my life from now on. I will never go back to eating the standard American diet. The SAD is what I like to call it. That's just full of grains, and truth of the matter is, not many people know this, but Kellogg's invented the food pyramid. And do you think it's just a coincidence that the base of the pyramid, in which they say you must have the most servings of anything, it needs to be grains and cereal, the base of the pyramid? I'm sure it's just a coincidence that they came up with that, since they're the ones that invented the food pyramid. But, you can see how corrupt. And by the way, Kellogg's is also in the insulin business. So they get to sell you the foods that give you type 2 diabetes, and then they get to sell you the treatment. How cool is that? But hey, that's all I've got for today, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. So hey, God bless. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.